Okay. So anyway, I think Praharsh has already uh, taught about factor analysis, factor design, and all those stuff. So this is kind of one of the techniques where you can actually do the comparison, or rather mathematically solve this kind of factor analysis. So one way, so there are many types of ANOVA. So what we are actually going to learn today is one-way ANOVA. What is one-way ANOVA? One-way ANOVA is nothing but anyway, we understood that what variables are. Let's say if there is only one variable and we are actually comparing more than one group, right? Then it falls into one-way ANOVA. So, for example, you are trying to actually, check the smoking habit and the lung health. So there, what you are actually doing, you are comparing groups who smoke, who don't smoke, or who smokes little, and then you are just checking their lung health and determining, making some conclusion, saying that whether smoking can cause lung problems or not. So, so there, what is the factor? The smoking is the only factor which is there, right? And obviously, you are just checking the lung health based on those particular factors and determining it. So, so that's about what exactly you're trying to actually achieve about, using ANOVA. So now let's actually take few examples and see before we even going into something like this, right? Let's actually take few examples and see how we want to really do it. Let's say you have you want to compare and make a prediction that whether lung health is going to be good or bad between, let's say, groups. Let's say you have a group which is a smoking group and a group which actually smokes less, which is one pack, and a group which probably smokes more than one pack, two or more or whatever it is, right? So how do you determine that smoking really affects or not? So you have given, I mean, forget about what is the process for ANOVA. So now there is a group that would really, you have like 5 individuals who doesn't really smoke. So is it like you can just simply compare and then determine that, oh yeah, I have this person A who is, who doesn't smoke. I have person B who smokes one pack of cigarettes, and person C who smokes 2+ packs of cigarette. I'll go and do the lung test of person A, and I found out that so and so lung capacity of this person A is some 60%. I'm just giving a hypothetical figure. Now, when compared to now, I came to person B who smokes one pack of cigarette every day, and I found out that this person's lung capacity is more than whatever the other person lung capacity is. Even after smoking cigarettes, his lung capacity is more, right? And this could happen. Why it could happen? Because there is a natural lung capacity, or there is some natural variation between these two individuals, and maybe this natural variation of this person, whoever I chose, the second person who actually smokes, has got a better lungs. It's not because he is smoking. So by chance, what could so happen that my reading is not about simple comparison. I can't say that I take person A, I take person B, and then I just match these numbers and say, yeah, this guy is scoring better and this guy is scoring low. So hence, I can determine that smoking is better to health. The lung capacity is better in case of smoking person. Hence, smoking, I can actually say that, oh yeah, this smoking person has better lungs. Everybody smoke. I can't really go and make those conclusions. So, so we have seen in all these statistical algorithms, all these algorithms are coming into picture because it is not just straightforward comparison of two cases. It is also about you removing those natural variations and then checking and then doing the comparison, right? So this natural variation could even more be confusing when you have groups. I have group of individuals, 5 individuals. Okay, individual 5 individuals who doesn't smoke, 5 individuals who smokes, right? So now when I actually compare these, I might have varied scores in the individuals who doesn't smoke, and I have varied scores in the individuals who smoke. Okay, so so it might so happen that these particular individuals, whatever that the variations that you are actually seeing, it could be just a natural variation, not because of the smoking, right? And as I said, right, when it comes to these particular individuals and all those stuff, the thing is so confusing that you don't even know which individual I need to actually compare with whom, right? Because one guy scores 50, one guy scores 60, whereas in the other group, one guy scores 70, one guy scores 40, etc., etc. It could be like a full confusion in terms of which person I need to compare to which person. I need to actually do a group comparison, right? So that is where the ANOVA is giving a methodology on how exactly you are going to compare these particular groups and how exactly you can make a conclusion that whatever the natural variations that you are actually seeing is discounted, and I'm making a conclusion which is very much dependent on this particular the smoking habit, whatever the problem statement that we have taken. So do we understand what is the purpose of ANOVA? I take the silence as yes, we do understand.
Yes.
Okay. So now let's actually how we can actually solve, right? So we always know that there is something called as a variance. So 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 you can actually check there is a mathematical way where you can actually find the variance, and using the variance you can say if this variance is less or if this variance is of this category, then there is no difference. If this variance goes beyond this, then definitely I can say there is a difference, right? So ANOVA also use the same technique where you actually calculate variance and then you actually determine if this variance is okay, yeah, if the variance is less than zero point 0.6, then I don't conclude, I don't have enough guts to say that yes, they are different. Group 1 is different to group 2. I don't have any proof because the variance that I got is too small and it could be a natural variance. If I get huge variance, then that means I have a conclusive proof that group 1 is different from group 2. Hence, I can actually prove that yes, there is a difference that is making between, I mean, smoking and non smoking, there is a difference. Okay, so this is exactly what is the basis for entire ANOVA. So you calculate the variance, and then based on the level of variance, you actually determine whether your hypothesis, null hypothesis, can be rejected or no, you just have to accept it. Okay, so now we talked about few challenges, right? I have group 1, group 2, group 3. There is some natural variation between these groups. So ANOVA procedure, what it does is it actually discounts those natural variations, as I said, and it actually brings out the actual difference between group 1, group 2, and group 3. So now if you go through these steps, how it does it. Okay, so first it is about, so these are the steps, right? I have these groups. So I'm not too sure how many of you remember how exactly variance can be calculated. So there are various ways that variance can be calculated. If it is a point to point, right? How do you actually do? You actually, take the point, minus it by mean, and then you actually, square it, square the difference, divided it by n minus 1 if it is less than 30 divided by n if it is more than 30. That is the standard way of calculating the variance. Okay, but in certain cases, it is not point to point that you will get. It is the average that you will get. I mean, what I mean to say here, what is the average and what is point to point? Okay, so let's say if I take the readings of this lung capacity. Okay, the way that I am trying to measure the lung capacity is how many coughs that a person would make in a minute or in an hour, let's say. Okay, so I took the reading of me or some XYZ person and I took the reading for 1 hour. He made 30 coughs. Okay, is this enough as a point for me? No, maybe in that hour he coughed more, maybe next hour he would not cough. Okay, so what I will do, I will take for next hour as well. Next hour he did 20, and next hour he did 15. Next hour he did 40. What I will do, I will take like that, I will observe his coughs per hour for 10 hours, and then I will average it out, saying that I observed for 10 hours, and in these 10 hours, his coughs per hour on an average is 30. Okay, even though I am calculating coughs for a particular person, the way that I am calculating is by making multiple observations and then I am averaging out. So the readings that I have finally is an average observation per person. It is not that I have all the points saying that R1 this much, R2 this much, R3 this much. These are point to point observations. But here what I have is not point to point observation. Here what I have is average observations. Am I clear in it? So there is a difference between these two observations. Like this, now I did for person 2 as well, these average observations. Like that, I did for person 3. I took 5 people and all the readings that I have, the table that I have is average coughs per person 1, average coughs per person 2, average coughs per person 3, person 4, person 5. Okay, so when I have a table which does have these table which consists of these average readings, then the way that I calculate variance is a little different from the way that I calculate variance when I have a point-to-point observations. In case of point-to-point observations, the way I do is x minus mean square it divided by n minus 1, that is the variance, which we have done in all other problems. But here you are still finding out variance, but it is slightly different. It is not overly different. It is still almost similar. But how you do it is there is something called as a correction term which also comes into picture. So you actually deduct this correction term to make sure that you get the variance. Okay. So are you guys with me? So the procedure here that you actually see to calculate the variance is, so net to net, what I am saying summary, the procedure that you see to calculate variance might be slightly different to the other variance that you would have seen in the other sums, but it is all about you calculating variance only. This is nothing different from that. It is just that these are average readings. Hence, you actually calculate this correction term and then you calculate the variance. Okay, but otherwise the concept of variance, what variance means, the general all fundamentals related to variance remain same. Okay, so are you guys with me until now?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so now coming back to ANOVA again. So as I said, ANOVA is all about you finding the variance and then you determining that whether there is a difference between group 1, group 2, group 3 and group 4. So now we are going through the procedure of how exactly you are going to find the variance when you have three such groups. So it is not about one single reading where you actually find the variance for all of them. Okay. So what you do? Okay. First thing that you actually do is you find the variance of entire set. So now what do you mean by variance of entire set? You have like three groups, but cumulatively how many individuals that you have? You have 15 individuals, right? So now finding out variance for all the 15 is not very difficult, right? I can just lay down as if they are one group and find the variance. So whatever that you are actually seeing.
Okay. Hello. Am I audible?
Faintly.
Yes.
Somehow suddenly my headset really gone out. Just a moment.
You're better audible now, actually.
Okay. So let me remove my headset and then talk through. Then, okay, if I am audible better now, I think that should be okay. So what you are actually doing here, first step, you are checking the variance for the entire group. Okay. So that means variance when you are combining group 1, group 2, group 3 and making it as one group, and you are just finding out the variance. Why do you want to do? Because you want to actually check what is the natural variance. So for that, because this natural variance is what you want to discount. You don't want to consider natural variance while you are actually determining that group 1 is different from group 2, right? So that is why you are actually going through the procedure where in the first step, you are actually finding the natural variance of entire group. Okay. Okay. And now, next thing, what you are actually doing, you are now taking variance of each group. You have group 1, you have group 2, you have group 3. Now, what you are actually doing is you are actually taking variance among groups. So, you are just saying, I have three groups. Okay. So, what is the difference between group 1, group 2, and group 3? Okay, so you are considering three individuals, right? This is individual 1, this is individual 2, this is individual 3. And then you are checking what is the variance between group 1, group 2, and group 3. That is what is among groups. That means you are just considering it as three entities and you are finding out what is the difference, what is the variance between group 1, group 2, group 3. Okay, that is what is about among groups. Now coming, what is this one? Okay, so now you are actually, what you are actually doing, you are here, you are saying that what is the variance within groups. So now what you found out is the total variance, that is all 15, and you have found out the variance between group 1, group 2, group 3. Now you are finding out variance within this group. Within group 1, what is the variance? Within group 2, what is the variance? Within group 3, what is the variance? Okay. So that is sum of squares within groups. Okay. So how you are actually doing in this particular case? You are taking the total sum of squares, and you are taking out what is among groups, and whatever the left out variance that is there, it is within groups. Within these groups, this is the variance that is there. Okay. So here, first thing, you find the total. Second thing, you find between the groups, and now you are finding within the groups. Okay. Is it clear? This is important to understand. You find total, and you find difference between the groups, and now you are finding difference within the group. How you are doing within the group? You are you are removing from total, you are removing among the groups, and then you are saying that okay, within the group, this is what is the variance is.
Okay.
Okay, so now what you are actually doing next? So if you see, right, when I talked about variance, it is not just about summing the squares. It is also about dividing with the number. For example, if you remember, we have something like square divided by n minus 1, right? So if I have to actually do among the groups, how many groups that I have? 3 groups, right? So whatever the sum that I have, sum of squares among groups, I divide it by number of groups, that is k minus 1, which is 3 minus 1, which I got this as the variance of it. Okay, so now what is the mean of sum of within groups? Whatever the amount that I got sum of squares within the group, I divide it by, I'm removing the groups, number of groups, and then dividing it within it. That means 15 minus 3, that is 12 here. So this is sum of squares within the groups. Okay. So once I find, so this is variance among groups, this is variance within groups. So once I have, so then what I do, I find the ratio and say, what is the ratio of among the groups and within the groups? So this is kind of telling me that whether my among groups, that is between the groups, is significantly, how large it is when compared to whatever the within group is. So this is actually taking out the factor of whatever the variance that I'm actually getting within the groups, I'm actually discounting it. The moment I have more variance within groups, then my F ratio will become less. Then among groups need to be really large to make sure that I give a conclusion saying that, okay, yes, my variation is very high. So my primary interest area is what is the variation between these groups. My primary interest area is not within the group. Hence, within the group is my denominator. Among the groups, that is between the groups, is the numerator. So the higher variation is between the groups, lower variation within the groups, I have a bigger F. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
Can you repeat?
Any questions here?
No, can you repeat what you said?
Yeah. So my interest area is what? Okay. What is my interest area in the entire problem? I need to find variance between these groups. I need to check whether group 1 is different from group 2, group 2 is different from group 3. My interest area is to find the variance between group 1, group 2 and group 3. If this variance between the group is high and variance within the group is less, then I can say that was group 1 is different from group 2, because variance between the group is high, but within the group variance is not that much. So that means natural variation is not that much. So within the group, what we have is a natural variation, right? And I'm not interested in natural variance. I'm only interested in this group related variance. So I will have to, the lesser I have within the groups, the better for me. The more I have between the groups, the better for me.
So then you are basically saying that the lengths of people in under the study are all similar health lengths, and having or not having a smoking habit is the major cause of the differences.
Yeah, if I am talking about a variance within group, then my natural health would actually come into picture. The moment I am saying discounting it, this smoking becomes my lens.
Right.
That is exactly what I am checking.
Got it. So more is the value of F means more is the variance in the study.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, like any other problem, what is more? How do you determine what is more? Is F2 better, 3 better, 4 better, 5 better, 10 better? How do you say what is more? Again, there is a table. You go and refer that particular table based on the degree that you have, like based on number of groups and number of entries in each group. There is actually a table that you refer and say what is the what is that watermark using which I can say that this is more or this is less. And then based on that, I go and tell that whether I can accept the null hypothesis or I can reject the null hypothesis. Okay. So that remains same in most of the statistical problems because there is no standard way of saying that what is more and what is less. All these tables are coming into picture just because they are the ones which are actually telling what is more, what is less. So you check the reference table. In the reference table, if this is what is the mark, watermark, then okay, yes, this is more, this is less. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, more than that of more or less, this is less. Is it significant enough or not, right?
Exactly. That is the right term. So is it significant? Should I actually conclude or I should ignore? Okay. So now coming to the exact way that it is going to be done, right? So here for each group, it itself is a mean. So you don't really actually go x minus m square. You would not do it because each reading itself is a mean. Okay. So what you do, you actually directly square each group. Okay. And you sum those particular squares. So I have sum of group 1. I have sum of squares of group 1. I have sum of group 2, sum of squares of group 2. Okay. And then what you do, you calculate something called as a correction term. As I said, this is coming into picture because there is no mean value which is available. This itself is a mean. So it is not a point to point. So this is the correction term that this is a standard calculation using which you actually, calculate the correction term where you actually square this particular, sum of, you add all these sums, sum of x, sum of y, sum of z, square it and divide it by n. N is total number of entries. This is the correction term. Okay. So how do you actually calculate sum of totals? You add all the sums, that is x square sum, y square, z square sum, and minus correction term. This is what is sum of totals. Okay. And how do you calculate sum of squares among groups or between groups? There are two terminologies that you can use. Somehow I feel between groups is much more clearer than among groups, right? So the total sum of squares between the groups, how do you actually determine? You calculate the square of sum divided by n1 divided by, so you calculate it separately for every group. That is group 1 square of sum of x divided by n1, square of sum of y divided by n2, square of sum of z divided by n3, and removing the correction term. This is what is sum of squares among groups. How do you calculate within groups? As I said, removing from the total, removing this among groups will actually give you the within groups total. And then mean is just about, in case of among groups, it is number of groups minus 1. In case of within groups, it is total number minus number of groups. You just have to divide it, you will get it. And how F ratio really comes? This is mean of squares among groups divided by mean of squares within group. As I said, your point of interest, this is numerator. The more it is, the better your F value will be. And the lesser you are within groups, better F value will be. Right? If F ratio is big, that is more than whatever the table really gives you, then you have all rights to reject null hypothesis. That means bigger the F value is, you are saying that there is more variance between the groups. That gives you the more confidence while you are actually rejecting the null hypothesis. That means null hypothesis is you are saying that smoking really affects the lung. So there is a difference between the lung capacity of group 1, group 2, group 3. But in the example, whatever that I have here, we couldn't get bigger F value when compared to whatever that is there in the table. Hence, I can't really reject null hypothesis. I have to accept the null hypothesis. Okay. So similarly, there are other, I mean, you can actually take any kind of, this kind of a comparison where this is the sum using which you can actually say that whether having a cell phone is affecting the driving or not. So you can use the same technique, same formulas, the way that it is done to calculate whether it is somebody using the cell phone, what would be his, whether, so the way the experiment is calculated, right? First of all, you will have to identify the variables and how to measure it, anything, right? In this particular case, you are actually checking whether cell phone really affects the driving or not. Now the question comes, how you are actually going to measure their driving. If somebody is more attentive, then they are driving better. So what I would actually take is the response time of an individual when he is approaching the signal. So if he applies brake, quickly when he is seeing the red light, then that means he is more responsive. The person who is little confused and taking more time to apply the brake, then he is less responsive, right? So response time is the one which I actually measure it to check the driving efficiency. And I take three groups, one who is using cell phone, the other not using cell phone at all, the other using the hands-free. And then I calculate the response times. And based on these response times using ANOVA technique, I'll go and measure how different is the response times, and then make a prediction saying that whether cell phone really affects the driving or doesn't affect the driving. Okay, so this is all about ANOVA. And now what really gets into this particular ANOVA solving is all about your ability to remember some of these nitty-gritties in terms of correction term, in terms of see, this is pretty simple. When you are going within the group, you can easily remember within the group is always calculated sum of totals minus among the groups. Okay, you can also remember very easily F ratio, because as I explained, you are more interested in the variation between the groups. That means amount should go on the top, and you are least interested in having variation within the groups. That means it is known. So it is very easy to remember this as well. Now, what really goes tricky? You should actually understand what is the formula for among the groups, and you should understand what is the formula for total, and you should understand formula for correction term. Okay. So this you can remember as you actually practice these particular sums. Otherwise, the calculation is pretty straightforward. It is just about squaring it and summing it. So if you see these things, it is just combination of squaring and summing, nothing more than that, actually speaking. Okay, so it doesn't really include very complex calculations. It is these three formulas where rather you just have to probably remember a bit. Otherwise, it is all straightforward and easy to make it.
Praveen, in
any
our
questions?
project, we will be probably using these kind of some sums, right?
Exactly. Exactly. This is one of the most popular, and most of the cases probably we might be using these kind of calculations, because once we actually get the results using survey or whatever it is, right, within our project, then ultimately we might have to actually compare on certain things. The moment we go into a quantitative analysis, if it is a qualitative analysis, you might not get into this. But if it is a quantitative analysis, most likely we will do. There are certain standard things, t-test, ANOVA. I think these two, I feel that we might end up using it.
Okay, thank you.
So any questions? Or are we clear on ANOVA? So, so ANOVA, as I said, right, it is important for us to do it, twice or thrice, so that you really, get these formulas into your brain, how it really works. There are 3 formulas, not more, and these 3 are all surrounding in and around sum of squares and squares of some kind of a thing. So it is not very difficult to remember, but you just have to try price, so that it really sticks into your brain. So you can use these terms as well to actually remember. Sum of squares, total sum of squares, total sum of squares among groups. What is sum of squares? This is sum of squares.
Square them one by one and add all of them. That's
Yeah.
easy. Total sum square among groups. The square sum this by square by n2. Okay. So average of square sums, square of that.
Yeah.
No. Sum, okay, average of items squared.
Correct.
The correction term, can you clarify that one?
No, it is not average by square. So it is sum, square it, and then divided it. So correction term, as I said, is coming into picture because you are actually dealing with the data which is not a point-to-point data, it is an average data. So the way that you calculate variance when it comes to this kind of a thing is by using this correction term. See how you generally do it, right? I'll tell you the rationale as well. How you generally do it, you take a point x and then minus it by mean and then square it.
Right.
Right? So
Yes.
now you don't have a mean. This itself is a mean.
Okay.
Okay. So now imagine that this is the mean which you are actually deducting after you are calculating these sums.
Okay.
Okay. So it is like instead of deducting the mean in each reading, you are rather deducting the mean as a whole.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. So that is why you can actually see in both cases, that is when you are actually doing it total of sum of squares and also among groups, you are actually deducting the correction term in the end, because you are actually not deducting the mean here. X minus m square is where you actually do the standard variance.
Got it. Instead of that, we do it totally.
Yeah, correct. But if you have point-to-point data and doing the ANOVA, then you might have to actually change the formula a bit to make sure that you calculate the variance in the right way. Okay, so in the web, if you actually see ANOVA problems, the way they solve, in certain cases, you might actually be confused if you see the formula of calculating the variance. Okay, the way that they calculate is x minus m square and then do it. But if you go and observe the problem statement would be coming with point to point data, not the average data.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So any questions? Any questions, or we can conclude?
I don't have any more questions. You can stop the recording then.
Praveen, you're the co-host.